Okay, I'd like to talk about the basics of Scrum and the Scrum process. It's a bit more involved than I'll explain the how to do it. You'll learn much more about it once you take software engineering. You'll learn about burn down charts. Things get a little bit more fancier, but I'm giving the simplified version, which is useful in its own right. So it should help you work on moderately sized projects. And the process starts with describing what are called stories, which is kind of a self-explanatory word, but I'll explain it in a bit. And stories are grouped according to themes. And let's do one theme. We'll group by what users will be using our site. And let's say we have a site that does musical events in Fredericksburg. So it'll keep track of bands. We can get information about bands. We can check out what the venues are. And we can see what's happening this weekend, music-wise, if anything, in Fredericksburg. Let's assume Fredericksburg's really a vibrant Austin City kind of place. And there's different kinds of users to our site. And one of it is kind of the basic user, the basic visitor to our site. I'll just call that person the user. And I'm going to organize some stories based on that. So this user here I'm calling the theme. And let's see. So we're just kind of brainstorming. So one thing we'll think of is, well, when a user visits our site, the main page of our site, they're going to see kind of a list of the current events, what's happening this coming weekend in Fredericksburg. So story, when a person goes to the main page of our site, she'll see a list of current events. And I'll abbreviate when a person, WAP, visits our site. They'll see this well organized. It'll look good. The site's going to look good. It'll attract people to our site. We don't want it to have a list of current events but be so yucky and unusable that people aren't going to come back. We want to kind of develop the site, so that's really a priority for us. When a person visits our site, they'll be able to search, like for a particular band, so they can get information about bands. Maybe there'll be like member bios, maybe some samples, MP3s, so we can kind of think about things like along those lines. When a person visits our site, they can see a calendar, a bigger calendar than this list of current events. So they'll see some sort of calendar display, maybe what's happening in the next few months. Let's say a person can register. When a person visits a site, they can register. And so on for regular users. Now let's say we want another user might be band. So a band, some representative of a band can register the band for the site. So when a band visits our site, when a band visits the site, they'll be able to register. When a band visits our site, they'll be able to add band and edit band info. The edit's kind of important. Maybe bands change, so we'd want them to do that. When a band visits the site, they should be able to easily add show dates and so on for bands. And we might have a similar thing for administrators. Right, so a few people are going to be administrators of the site. They should be able to log in and do administrator kinds of things. So when administrators do the site, they should be able to edit all information. Ugh, my typing's bad. These are not good stories as I have them because they're usually full sentences and I've been kind of abbreviating things. But you can kind of see the rough idea of what we're doing. We're sitting around a table trying to think of a way, well, here's our users, here's what we want it to do, and describe in English ways what the user is going to experience, the different types of users. So that's the first step. Now we're going to look at this list as a group, a team of developers, and come up with a kind of a list of associated tasks. So let's get to that. Here I am at Trello. It's the program the web app that I want you to use for this application. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new, what they call board. Just hit the plus here, create board, and I'll call my band board Fred Band, for Fredericksburg Band. I want you to change that to public, just so I can have access to it. And now I can add various things, various lists to this board. The first, I want to add some members, the people on my team. Let's see, there's Fiona Helbrin, she's on the team. And there's Rachel Z, she's on the team, and that's it. So I have a couple members here other than me to be on the. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a backlog. So this backlog is, we get together as a group. Usually it'd be the product manager, but we get together here as a group and decide kind of what features we want in our finished product. And I just add these cards to it. So someone needs to find a template, flaskify it, and create a git rip. Seems a lot of things for one thing, but we'll go with it. And I want to, let's say we're going to have a search box on the, I'll just say add search box, and results page. We want to be able to search by band and venue. Someone needs to design and create the SQL database. We want to add a comments feature so users can add comments about events. We want to make sure the home page to start with displays one event coming up. It'd be nice if we could display them all, and we want some basic list events page, and we want a form for creating events, and we'd go on and on. Let me just add one more here. Let's say a basic form for adding band info. So we'd go on and describe this backlog, and now what we're going to do is have a sprint backlog. So a sprint backlog is what we're going to do for the next week and a half to 2 weeks. So what is it that we're working on? Well, this seems kind of important, so I'm just going to drag this over here, and I'm going to assign a specific member to it. Let's say Fiona's going to work on that. So we have a picture here of who's working on it, and someone needs to create and design the database. Well, let's say I'll do that one. Oop. And we want that home page looking good. And we'll assign Fiona to do that as well. And we're going to have this SQL file that's going to display the basic list page and on. So we'll drag stuff we're going to do. We're committed to that we think we can accomplish in about a week and a half worth of work. Let me just add a member here. Okay, so there'd probably be a few more here, but there'd be this sprint backlog, so we can all look, the members of the team, and see who's doing what, and we have a very clear idea of what we're doing. So once we have this and we're doing our daily Scrum meeting, we can say the progress we're making on these specific items. We also know who's working on what. That's a really critical aspect of, that I think you're doing. Sometimes people think, well, that person's doing X, when really they're doing something totally different. This helps kind of focus the team. Let me close this here. I often have a column of just done, so as we finish stuff, you can just drag the card to being done. People can add comments about it. I'm logged in. Let me log in as Fiona here and add my comment. There's Fiona. And Fiona can say, whatever, look at template I found to see if you like it. So you can make various comments of what currently working or currently flaskifying. So whatever, people can add comments back and forth. I can get out of Fiona here, get back to me. I can just say template looks good. And we have a little record of what's going on with this particular task. And again, as we get done with the task, we're going to stick it here and done. So that's basically it. Make sure you share the Trello link with me. But I find Trello really useful for when I'm in a small team working on a project, or even working with students on a particular project. It's a good way to kind of keep track of what's happening, what we need to do, and what our current focus is. So I hope this short video was helpful for people. Thanks.